So people who can't catch it, will be able to catch it on the recording. So anyway, my name is Courtney Richardson. I'm the founder of the IB Investor. I've been teaching women how to invest since 2014, but fortunately or unfortunately, I was actually working the day the stock market crashed, which was September 29th, 2008. Crazy enough, the market was just doing poorly the whole time. So a lot of people are like, oh, it crashed, and it was just kind of like a surprise. No, I mean, banks were falling in California. It was just really a crazy time. So, I fast forward, I ended up going to law school. I was laid off in March of 2009, went to law school, kind of came back, started the IB Investor, really got some bumps and bruises from '08, still kind of recovering in a couple of different ways. But that's pretty much my background. Traci, please let us know, how you do and what's going on with you.
Hi, everybody. My name is Traci Powell. I have been in real estate going on 17 years now. I know I don't look like any little baby face. I know I get it. But my background has been in real estate for 17 years. I have been in and around Philadelphia, Pennsylvania all of my life. My family has been in real estate for about 30 or so years. And we started out doing everything from buy and holds, personal investments, fix and flips, literally everything that you can think of, property management and loans. In 2003, I got my real estate license. But in 2005, I actually got my loan origination license. So I was doing mortgages and real estate at the same time when Pennsylvania did allow it. I brought a whole new perspective for understanding how real estate and loans work together, but they do not literally speak to the same master. And we'll talk more about what that means. I was in business in 2008. My family had investments in 2008, properties in 2008. I had clients in 2008, literally watched the market literally dry up, deteriorate, and shut its doors. Like, it's the scariest thing if you're not prepared for it to understand what that means. Worked through that, kept everything together, moved forward, had to do what needed to be done from a business standpoint on a lot of different fronts, whether it was bankruptcy, whether it was deed in lieu, all kinds of things need to be worked out in order for people to stay afloat. So I got a crash course in all the other options that are available to people in a crisis. So since then, we've come out, business is flourishing, markets are flourishing, and we are now facing something similar. So we definitely wanted to get on together to make a discussion so that way folks kind of know what to expect. So other background, I don't really talk about this enough. I went to Drexel University, was in the engineering program, kind of a thing, but I don't really talk about it that much because real estate is my focus. But if anybody has any technical backgrounds or come from engineering, you do understand that we're taught how to think. So from a logistic standpoint and a Rubik's Cube standpoint, I'm always figuring out how to move the pieces and swap them around. So that's my story.
Thank you, Traci. So, I mean, yeah. So you said you got your license in 2003, right?
Yep.
I got my stockbroker's license in 2003. So, So I think we were kind of like on the same path, and then we were riding high now. Like it was a
2003 was a good time.
It was a whole party. Like 2003, 2004, we were kind of like on this uptick, and life was good. When I was working, in the investment industry, we had steak dinners. I'm learning about how to pair wines with meats and things because that was the life. I will never forget this. So we had a holiday party. Mm-hmm. Had a holiday party with the firm, and it was all the way up in Jersey City. And I live in Philly. I've lived in Philly unless I lived in West Virginia. Mm-hmm. And they said, "Oh, we have a black car to take you home, Ms. Richardson." Do you know how expensive a black car is from Jersey City to Philadelphia?
I do.
Like, I was like, for me, it was just for me. Like, it wasn't anybody else. It was some man standing outside for me. I was like, oh, I done made it now. And then about 6 months later, here we are. It was about 9 months later after that, we were all laid off. So let me back up. 9 months after that, we were, the market crashed. And then about 3 months after that, about 6 months after that, I was laid off. So, life comes at you fast. So, so while we're having these conversations, guys, those who are listening, who are attendees, please, share, let people know that this is going on. I definitely shared it on the IB Investors Facebook. I shared it on my personal page. Definitely please let people know that it is going on, so people can have these conversations, because like we said, there's so much bad information out there, and we're trying to get ahead of it, in front of it. But also let us know about your questions, because there's a lot of things that I know are burning on your mind that you're like, oh, I'm glad they're having this Q&A, because I'm just ready, and I have a lot of stuff that's on my heart and on my mind, and that I'm really concerned about. So please let us know, use the chat box, let us ask those questions so we can really get them out of the way. But also, Traci, so can you just give us like 3 lessons that you learned basically from the crash in real estate? Like, what did you learn coming out of that crash? Like, what were like your big takeaways? After you like kind of licked your wounds, what were your big takeaways?
So one of the biggest things that I will tell people, and it's like one and the same, is calm down. Stay calm, stay cool, pay attention, and literally keep everything together while we're going through this crash. One of the biggest things that you'll see, and a lot of times people see this stuff with the stock market and everything else, COVID starts getting traction, coronavirus, everything, places are shutting down, all kind of stuff. It's a pandemic, and it is a absolute panic. People are freaking out. They don't know what's going to happen and what's understanding. So a lot of people start liquidating stuff. They start selling stuff. They start doing all kind of stuff. Calm down. You want to stay calm, be patient, and pay attention to what this means for you and for your family. That's the biggest thing, because sometimes in a lot of the different markets and stuff that happened, even from 2008, we realized some people weren't as affected as bad as others. Some people literally had everything wiped all the way out, and some people were kind of okay. The second thing I would definitely say too is start taking inventory of properties you own, properties your family owns, what the banks own, meaning what do you owe? Are you over leveraged? Do you have lines of credit? Are you pulling out money to do rehab? Has that already been done? You want to make sure that you're paying attention to what the value of your property is versus what you owe or what you're about to take out. Because that leverage sometimes can be the difference between completely tanking and pretty much staying afloat. So that's number 2 is pay attention to that stuff. Number 3, I would say, you want to start having conversations in your family, having conversations with those of us who own property, those of us who family members who own property and different things, because the worst thing that I found was that people were underwater and they didn't say anything. People could not help them because they literally let the tide wash them over, and by the time you got to we got through it, you were so far under that no one could pull you out. In this day and age, we have so many resources. We have so many secondary markets. We have so many different options under the law that can help you either stay in your home, that can help you buy a home, that can help you put you in a position that makes sure that you are set up to do well. But you have to start having the conversations now, and also have to start discussing resources within your community, finding out who the banks are, finding out who the lenders are, finding out who the CDCs are, finding out who the vendors are with the CDCs. What are we doing with other business lines of credit? Do we own businesses? Are we only worried about paycheck money? Do we have a 401k? Is that strong enough? Do we also have resources where we have other family members that may have other property that's just sitting and not doing anything? It's more of a collaborative community conversation to make sure that everyone is in like checking in, like check in with auntie, check in with grandma, check in with everybody that could be affected financially if banks dry up, meaning home equity lines of credit literally shut down and say, thank you for playing. We do not have any more money for you. What you owe us, you now have to pay us back. But it used to be a revolving credit card that you could just pull money off, take it on, pull money off. In '08, we saw that completely shut their doors and dry up. We also had flexible money for investors, whether it was out of state, second home, rehab properties, buy and holds that was like maybe 80 or 90% LTV that they were doing it. They literally sent emails out. Thank you, but we are no longer in business. And it was done. Phones shut down. Nobody was able to talk. And I don't want to do a whole doomsday conversation to make people super, super afraid of this, because this was at its highest level for people who were unprepared. That's what it looked like. But a lot of the folks who knew what was coming because they understood economics and they were on the other side of it, 3 months prior, literally pulled everything that they needed to out of the market, out of the line of fire, and just did this and watched it. So, and we were talking about 3 things that I learned, right?
So I have leverage, understanding, like basically you understood about taking inventory, is that basically take inventory of what you have. I also have that you need to really open the lines of communication with other people that, may be kind of basically what assets are in the line of fire and what people are in your life that could be in the line of fire. And then also, which I think is like, it's my favorite, understanding economics, because I think a lot of people don't understand economics. I've seen more people who have not sat in nobody's economics, nothing, talking about some, what they think about economic theories. And I'm like, if you didn't read The Wealth of Nations, that dry behind Adam Smith book, I don't want to hear from you. If you did not have to read John Locke about, the social contract and those things, because it all plays into this game that we're playing today, I don't want to hear from you. And I'm not trying to be mean, but the thing is that if you understand economics, you can see the knuckle curveball before it leaves the glove. But if not, you're going to get hit in the head. And unfortunately, a lot of people end up getting hit in the head. So I think you really hit some really, really good points. And I'm so glad to talk to about that. And I want to highlight some of the resources, but why don't we kind of switch into the stock market, and then we'll switch back in terms of resources and what we can do. So in the stock market, a couple of things that I learned, kind of the hard way and not the hard way. One of the biggest things that I had coming into 2008 is I had a very large position in my retirement and personally in Merrill Lynch stock. Now, y'all can look up Merrill Lynch stock right now if you want to. The symbol was MER. It does not exist anymore. And the reason being is that it was purchased by Bank of America. Now, I don't even remember what the terms of the deal was, but I know that I got a fraction of Bank of America stock for every share of Merrill Lynch that I had. So basically overnight, like I lost half of my value of my retirement account, because I had too much in my employer stock. Now, let me be very honest. A couple things we already knew. We knew in February of 2008 that something was terribly, terribly wrong. And I've been trying to find my supervisor for like the last, 4 years, like really trying to find him. And so he can like verify that I said this, y'all. Cause I said it, and I said it more of a train of thought, not necessarily like deliberately, but we were talking and there was this thing called auction rate securities. I don't want to get into this. It's boring, but at the end of the day is that normally the market goes back and forth, and the big banks, if there's ever a problem with liquidity in that market, they come in, clear the market, everybody's happy, everybody goes home. But on this one particular occasion, nobody could clear the market because what? They had no money. They were all over leveraged. All of the big banks were over leveraged. And you're just going, And I said to him, like in our conversation, because a lot of our advisors that I was working with, high net worth advisors, were using this auction rate securities as like another form of cash, because cash, cash don't get anything. You get a penny on a penny of a cent, of a half a cent. You get such a small interest rate. It's just like, why do we even bother? So they want to give their clients something a little bit better than what people normally would get on cash. So they were using these as cash. But what happened is when the market failed, people were going to the secondary market and getting 70 cents on a dollar. So let me put this in perspective. If you had $100,000 in cash in one of these securities, you actually got, if you had to sell out of them, you actually were getting $70,000. So you lost $30,000 like in cash. You're like, what? Where? You're like, that's my cash allocation. That's not something that was in the market. That's like what I thought to be easy. It was supposed to be there. So there was a run on those, caused all kinds of problems. But like I said, it was over leverage that started that party in February of 2008. So to me, I already saw warning signs. The little flashing lights were happening. And I know Traci can probably talk about this in the real estate market. We saw flashing lights, but we were kind of like, no, that can't be it. That has to be something else. When you see something, you're like, no, that's not what I thought it was. No, it was. It was everything we thought it was and more. So I really try to share that with people, to say, like, there's like things that you're going to see in the market that you're like, I've seen this before. And I want you to kind of be mindful that you've seen it before and you know how that story ends, and be mindful of that. So that's a really big thing that I got from the first lesson in the stock market, is that, like, history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. So you're not always going to see the same story playing out the same way, but you're like, the guy sees girl, guy falls in love with girl, they get married, blah, 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 kind of same thing, it's the same story over and over again, but it's just different players. So again, be mindful of that, kind of pay attention. And then also, I tell people, you have to stay ready so you don't have to get ready. A lot of times when I understood exactly what was going on in 2008, one of the big things that I personally had to do was, I was trying to like make moves in the stock market. Well, I had no cash. My cash was pitiful. And so I ended up missing out on a lot of opportunities. So one of my things, I was really upset about that. I was like, darn, I really should have had more cash on hand. And honestly, the way that we were killing in the game in 2007 and 2006, there was no reason why I didn't have any cash. So stay ready so you have to get ready. So stack your cash. And I've noticed that a lot of people right now are like, oh, I should get into the market. The market's low. The market's low. The market not that low. Let's be very honest and put in perspective. The market crashed in September 29th, 2008. The bottom did not happen until March of 2009. That's 6 months. We're just at the beginning of this party, y'all. Sit on your hands. Literally sit on your hands. Stack that cash, that $1,200 that you may or may not have coming in. Put it aside. Not just for emergencies, but if you want to get into the market, that's a great place to kind of start thinking about what you want to be buying. But don't just be buying because you think the market is low, because you ain't seen low yet. There's going to be really some fire sales going on. And because you think that this is low, because this is the lowest that you've seen since, in some cases, Trump has gotten into office, you think that you're actually doing something. It's kind of like, we might be like, so when you're going to the supermarket or going to the store, you have like your little, I don't know, it's like a little price tag. And it says like, $69. Okay. And then you have it goes down to $49.99. And then after that, it goes to something 98. So we'll say it's $20.98. We're not at 98 yet. We're at 99. We're somewhere between $49.99 and $67 or wherever. We haven't gotten to 98 yet. We don't know what that is. And I'm not encouraging anybody to market time, but we have no idea how long, one, this pandemic is going to last. Two, what that really means for the economy. If anybody saw the jobless report that came through, it's 4 times higher than at the bottom of the recession. 4 times higher today. Like, y'all, they are underplaying that. So again, this is going to be a longer cycle for us to look at, but nobody talks about it. Like, people, they got excited about the Dow being up 1,200 points. I didn't get excited because my puts were out of the daggone money and I was pissed. So, I was making some strategies in the market. I was like, y'all silliness got on my nerves. So, but I share that with you. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. So that's the third thing. And then I don't want everybody feels like the way they take advantage of things is to buy. And buying isn't always the way. You can exploit. And what I mean by exploit, I don't mean like take advantage of people, but you can exploit the markets. There's going to be some holes that are going to exist that you can say, oh, I can take advantage of that, or oh, I can take advantage of that. And that's where you need to focus. But so when I say go long, people think I need to go long to take advantage. No, I'm not going long in anything. I haven't gone long in anything in probably like 6 months, because the market, it was too high. It was like we were playing Jenga, and you know what happens when you get real high in Jenga? That joint falls down. And I knew that it was going to happen. So that's my commentary generally. So basically, protect what you have. A lot of people are running out of, like, oh my gosh, my retirement's down $10,000, but I'm going to retire in 30 years. Relax. Don't do anything out of panic. You're going to have to relax. If you weren't paying attention to your 401k yesterday, don't pay attention to it today. Because again, you don't have the tools necessary. And we both have classes on these things, but you don't have the tools necessary to even navigate it properly. So don't do anything. Sit on your hands. It's okay. I feel like everybody feels like in these times you have to be doing something. No, you don't. So Traci, since we started on the don't touch your retirement, don't touch your face, and don't touch your retirement, share with us, what should people be doing if they're interested in getting into real estate investing? What should they be doing right now? Or even if they are in real estate investing, what should they be doing now?
So from a real estate investment standpoint, again, this is completely different than our first time home buyers. And again, I'll talk about that as well for those people who are purchasing home, which is in a completely different shift. But for my investors, number one, I'm hoping that you have a strategy. I'm hoping that you've done some research on the type of investor that you want to be from the beginning. And I'm hoping that you have some books, some resources, a mentor, and all those things. I say all of that because I'm not sure exactly who I'm speaking to, and I don't know your walk in real estate investing. And I want to be clear that these are things that you should be doing first. The next portion of it, when you're in this space here, you should be watching. Like, that is your goal at this juncture. We are in a space now where the storm has started to rain a bit and the clouds are starting to roll in. We are not in the eye of the storm yet. We are not in a space where you're going to start to see the tornado lift some things up, swirl it around, and throw it away. We haven't gotten there yet. So at this point, pay attention, watch, start some discussions. If you own property, you definitely want to start talking, like I said earlier, start talking to your lenders, start finding out what options you have, start checking to see whether or not the programs that you're used to being available are available. I know I've started to see personally with some of my investor clients, some of the mortgage programs are starting to pull back on some of the more aggressive models, meaning 90% LTV, and they're covering 100% of the rehab, and all you have to put down is 10%. Those programs are at a halt right now. Banks are nervous because they're not sure how we're going to flip around in this market. So you want to pay attention to that and make sure that if you can't call your normal banker or your normal lender and say, hey, what's going on with the market right now? Like, are you guys still hovering at this number? Are you still doing loans at 10% down, that kind of thing? Keep those communication lines open so you can understand what's happening, because that's going to be important for you. Your current projects, you need to do an assessment. You need to start now to find out, am I over leveraged? Do I also have, I'm sorry, got a loan officer chiming in on my Facebook, and she's saying, yes, those programs are on pause. Say it. So I'm telling y'all now, those programs are literally like stopping. We're not lending out any money. We need to reassess, and that's what the banks are doing, which they should, because everybody's in a space now where they need to find out more information about what's going on before they start lending out money. Now back to my property owners who own either buy and hold investments or own fix and flips investments and they haven't completed the fix and flip, or people who are about to enter into properties to buy, to fix and flip. Now, multi-units are not in this category. Most multi-units will be able to, if you bought correctly and you did your numbers, that the income sustaining from the multi-unit should be able to cover the loan that you have. If you do not, you need to call me. We got to work on that right now. Secondly,
okay, before that, can you tell people how to get in contact with you? Because you've been talking. I was like, now they're probably like, oh, you need to call me. He's like, you know what? I do need to call her. So give us the information.
Okay. So yes, just FYI, I am always, and my team also monitors my Instagram. Instagram is at Real Estate Traci with an I, and Facebook is Traci Powell, my name, on Instagram, on Facebook. That's the easiest way to get in contact with me. So, and I'll reiterate that as we kind of go forward later on as well. But back to my investors who are holding property. If you are holding property and you have rentals and buy and hold, if you are holding property and you're doing rehab loans and you are in the middle of a rehab, and if you're holding property and you are about to buy something that is the fix and flip rehab, you need to pay attention to your lenders and pay attention to your leverage. This is going to make the difference on whether or not you make it out of the storm with your asset intact. You need to make sure that at a minimum, you are no more than 65%. If you are more than that, you need to start figuring out some options in order to make sure that you are very, very, very low leveraged in the event that the market takes a downturn and your equity is snatched. And what I mean by that is, in a buyer's and a seller's market, a lot of times you have money infused where there's buyers, there's lenders, there's people lending money, there's people ready to buy money and qualified to borrow money, and they're buying property. When all of those things work together, the economy is working in harmony. But when the banks dry up, the people buying dry up, and we have these properties and different things still hanging out here that don't have people to buy them, now they start dropping their prices. Now we start getting to a space where everything on the market is now not able to be sold. My point in saying that is that changes pricing. That changes a neighborhood that might have been going on a hot market for $250,000, now is hovering at a 180. If your loans are at $250,000 because you were expecting to gain the money from the market, you will be over leveraged. You will be too high in the market to be able to recoup if any loss happens. And this is what I'm speaking about right now, is making sure that everybody understands you're prepping for a storm. When you prep for a storm, you close the windows, you might even board them up. Some people go as far as, if you're in a space where it floods a lot, you want to put some sandbags around it. Some people say over preparation, too much, or under preparation, maybe I'm not really at risk at much. That's up to you. That's up to your personal financial situation. But I'm telling you, in this market, because of what we've seen, you need to start paying attention to it now. Over leverage is never the way to go. Being too mortgage heavy also can cause some problems, where you might have your personal house. Now you got loans on the house that you borrowed to buy investment property, and now the house that you own is too mortgage heavy, and you're over leverage on the house that you lay your head at, where all of your friends, where all your family is and your children are. Start working out a plan now. Figure out how to remove some of that leverage off of that, even if that means you got to move some money around, put some leverage on some of the other investment properties in order to balance it out. Do it now. It's better preparation, and you shouldn't be that leverage anyway on your primary residence either way. So if you was doing it on I want to see what happens, Now we want to pull it back. We're conservative now. It didn't happen. We're not doing it. We're pulling it back.
Yeah, can you talk about, I want you to reiterate that, because I think a lot of people miss that in the joy of investing, that they leverage, or they basically put up the house that they lay their head at, or lay their head in, and they end up in a situation. Can you share some of the things that you can do if you as an investor finds themselves in that position? What are the things that can be done to kind of help that situation?
So the thought process is this. So let's discuss what we're talking about. You own a house, you've lived there, you've built some equity in it. Let's say you owe $100,000, but it's worth $3. Over the years, you've paid money into it. You only owe 100. You know it's worth $3 in the current market. That's great. You started to pull money out of that house to buy new property. So now you might be at 2 because you pulled $100,000 out of the 100 you already owe when you bought it to just live in it. You took 100 out to go buy other property. Now you're heavy by 200,000 on a property that is worth 300,000 currently today. But if the market shifts and that 300 cushion you thought you had has now brought you to 200, and you're over leveraged at the top of the market where what you owe is what the new economy is telling you your house is worth, you could possibly be underwater. So in order to fix that, the thought process is this. You want to start removing some of the leverage that you had that is not your own doing by primary residence. So thought process is you could liquidate properties. You could liquidate properties that you're not using, that are not in a space. Maybe you try to work in a space where I wanted to buy a fixer upper that I could flip. And 100,000 was done with that. The project isn't moving. We're sitting here. Philadelphia County and Pennsylvania has shut down all construction. You're sitting. You don't have any way to fix this stuff. And we don't have an idea on when we're going to be complete. So you might be looking at 3 or 4 months that this project is now sitting. Might be time to start talking about liquidation. Might be time to start talking about as-is sales to just get out from under it, because what is pulling that money is over your head. That's how you prepare for the storm. That's what you need to do to not be over leveraged. Second portion of the thought process is, if you also have other properties that you feel like you want to keep, you could refinance those properties. So now what I'm saying, primary residence is 200K leverage and the market is coming down and we don't have no equity. Second property has no mortgage on it because we have the 100K from the 200K on our primary residence. We want to start flattening the curve by saying, I'm going to move 100 from my 200K house over to my house that has no mortgage. So now each house has 100K. Now we're underwater. Now we're level with the water. We're level with the equity. If anything goes wrong and the value goes wrong, we won't be underwater on either house because we've done our numbers correctly and we know our primary residence is worth 300, and the house that we were trying to fix and flip hopefully is worth more than 100K that we took out to fix it and flip it. So we want to play the playing field where we start to basically pass around the debt, spread it around for all the properties that we own that can handle the mortgages, so we're not over leveraged on our primary residence. Those are pretty much the two real options. I have some other stuff that might be able to work depending on people's primary situations, but I don't like to get into those on big calls like this unless I know that it makes sense for your person. But that's probably your best.
Okay, that makes sense. And I think that was really, really helpful just in terms of how to kind of structure, or at least think through structuring, because a lot of people feel like they don't have any options. And I mean, oh, wait, hold on, time out. This is not legal advice. I'm not telling you to do anything, but these are your options that you may have. You may have, because I had to, let me say that one more time. This is not legal advice. these are me telling you options, because I feel like Courtney said, no, I did not. But you may have, if you are really underwater, you may be able to reorganize through a bankruptcy. Now, normally you will have it would be a Chapter 13 because you have assets and things like that. But it's an opportunity. And I feel like a lot of people kind of will go down with the ship, just, instead of really saying, what can I do to pretty much get myself on top of it. And bankruptcy is not the end of the world. It's not a terrible thing, but sometimes you have to do it to kind of make it work, if that makes sense. And I feel like, even in my situation, I don't know if you guys know about my mom, but my mom, she had to file for bankruptcy, and she actually ended up retiring with $250,000, a house paid off, car paid off, everything taken care of, because she was able to give herself that opportunity to reorganize. So again, I think no one you shouldn't feel bad if that's what you have to do, but don't let it get too far that the sheriff's not coming to your door anytime soon, but the sheriff's coming to your door, you have people calling you, because it gets very stressful. And there's a lot of people that ended up, having strokes, having other issues, committing suicide, because the distress became entirely too much during this time period. So I want people to get in front of it. I don't want that to happen to you, because it doesn't have to happen. There's too many resources out here for people to kind of get from under the problems that they have.
Absolutely. I completely concur with that entire message. That is absolutely true. That was why I said, number one thing, calm down. Don't stress out. 2008, there were folks jumping off of City Hall. Like, it was really, really bad, because people were not prepared financially, mentally, or emotionally for everything that happened. You want to make sure that you are doing as much research as you can. That's probably the most important thing. Talking to people, talking to professionals, talking to lenders, talking to real estate agents, checking to see what your options are. And remember, guys, bankruptcy is nothing but a debt restructuring. I know in our community, a lot of times we like to think like bankruptcy is such this big bad B word. It's really not. Folks use it for years. It's literally LLC business or personal finances to say, hey guys, I got in over my head. Judge, please help. Let's figure out a plan to restructure my debt so that way I can still live, breathe, take care of my family, and move on from this. Mm-hmm. These are all options that are available to you, provided you find yourself in a position where you just can't fare. And it's nothing wrong with it. There were a lot of very, very big name people who were doing well, who literally filed for bankruptcy, and they're still out here moving and shaking. Mm-hmm. So,
and to that point, also, a lot of times I've had a lot of conversations with people who are like, oh, I think this may be a path I want to go, but they hadn't filed tax returns. They weren't compliant with any of the things that they should have been doing. And that really causes some problems, because until you get that bankruptcy protection, you're just out here in the wind. And the longer it takes you to get this paperwork together, to kind of file all the necessary documents, you're basically still under the gun in terms of all those things that are happening in terms of enforcement. So just keep those things in mind. And again, we're not telling you to do this, but again, we're trying to put it in perspective as a debt restructuring, which it is, as opposed to this like big, terrible thing because, you're a terrible person and all these other things that a lot of people have this shame that comes along with it. And it's not good, especially for us. We have a lot riding on this, and I don't want you to kind of get your place into embarrassment, shame, whatever, and end up like losing your legacy. So there's a couple of questions. Traci, do you work in Florida?
I do not currently, but actually I have a resource that will probably allow me to work in Florida in the next 30 days. Mm-hmm. So I would say get in contact with me and then we can talk, because there's some brokerage changes that are happening with being able to use some licensure in Florida. So I should be able to help.
Okay.
Well, I'm sorry. I am licensed in the state of Pennsylvania. I can do business in Pennsylvania, Maryland, Georgia, West Virginia, and Florida.
Okay. Oh, so you don't do work in Maryland?
Oh, Maryland too. I'm sorry. I missed that.
So awesome, because Zoe asked that in the questions. Okay, so I want to just transition a little bit over to investing. I saw a couple of questions about investing, so I kind of want to hit those. Horace asked about utilizing puts. So I use puts are an option strategy, just for people who don't know. Options are basically betting on the stock market. And so if you think the stock market, just think of it this way: call up, put down. So you're going to call someone up. You think the stock's going to go up. You think the market's going to go up. You do a call. If you think the stock market is going to go down, you think the stock is going to go down, a company is going to go down, you do a put. So that's the gist of it. That was a little bit more complicated than that, but that's just the overall. So I was doing puts this week, and I've been doing puts for a couple of weeks now, because I thought there were some positions that I knew were going to go down. On the other side, I've been doing some calls. Like I made a lot of money on a Clorox call a couple of week and a half ago. The weeks all blend together at this point. So again, because Clorox is doing well because, everybody needs to disinfect everything. What do you use? Clorox. Nobody's using those frou-frou, whatever, it's oil. No one's using that. People are just using the hard stuff. Like, we just want this thing going. So that was the thing about Clorox. Also, I did a put on MGM. And if you know anything about MGM, MGM is a very big, Vegas casino. And if you know anything about what's going on with Corona, everything in Vegas is shut down. MGM is one of the biggest ones. So I knew that they weren't going to do well. Made money on that too. So again, it's about playing the market, understanding what's going on and then moving from there. So Horace asked specifically, about buying puts. I do long puts. So the only thing that I have at risk is my premium. So basically it can expire worthless, and I've just put out my premium, whatever the premium may be. Now, granted, I haven't been doing a lot of options because I was like, because when you're doing options, you're buying in what's called a round lot, which is $1,000. So you're paying per stock, I should say, like a couple of, maybe 10 cents or something, but you're multiplying that by 100. So some of these puts were like, because the market was, really in a tailspin, were like $20. So you multiply that by 100. Now I want to do, 3 or 4 contracts, which is 300 or 400 shares, kind of calculated at. I was like, oh no, I'm not paying that. And I wasn't paying that. And that's what happened. So, so that's my commentary on options. And Nicole asked another question earlier. She said, hey, how much, what is the optimal number of shares for you to make a profit? Well, I mean, I tell people not to look at things that way, because you kind of lose it. And the reason why I say that is because when you're looking to invest, you're looking to make money, but you're looking to make money per share. So think of it this way, if I'm either going to look into buying Target, or I'm going to look into buying, I don't know, I'm going to look into buying Amazon. So I'm going to look at Target real quick. Target that's a surprise, $96 per share. It was $96. It closed at $96 per share. But let's look at Amazon. Amazon closed at $1,900 a share. So again, I can either buy. Oh wow, that's pretty close too. Oh, that's exciting. And I'm not going to do any numbers today because I'm not going to embarrass myself on this live. So if you know me personally, you're like, my mind stops working about, it stops working about 8:30. So, I mean, I can either buy about 20 shares of Target, or I can buy 1 share of Amazon. So again, like putting that in perspective, but if Amazon goes up $3, I made $3. But if Target goes up $3, I made $60. So again, I really try to encourage people. I don't want you to go looking for the lowest price stock, because penny stocks is not the way either. I'm going to say this again because a lot of people feel like, oh, it's a cheap stock, I can get as many as I want. Well, yeah, but it's also like the manager special. I embarrassed myself the other day. I wasted some money. I went to get some beef because I was like, oh, I'm going to make it. I kept putting it off. My grandma was like, that meat went bad. And I was like, no, it didn't, my mom. And she's like, that meat went bad. I was like, and I looked in the store, the meat went bad because it was I didn't realize it, but it was priced for the manager special. Same thing with penny stocks. Penny stocks, they may be fine, you know, kind of like the manager special. It may be fine, but you know, 9 times out of 10, that thing's about to go bad. That's why it's priced that way. You know, so I try to put those things in perspective. So buy what you know, what you like, what you like, and what you trust. You know, I've been going to Target. I spend a lot of time at Target. I've spent an exorbitant amount of time at Target, but I've also been spending time at Whole Foods. Whole Foods is owned by Amazon. I'm not paying $1,900 a share for Amazon. I'm kind of on the fence about even if I want to pay $96 a share for Target, but we're not getting in that today. But my point is that you want to put yourself in a position where you can buy as many shares as you want, or you're able to, your pocket's able to. That's what you're looking to do. So it's like you go to the supermarket and you have your list. You're like, okay, I have $100 and I have a list. That's it. I have $100 to spend in the stock market, and I'm going to try to get the biggest bang for my buck that makes the most sense. That's what you're thinking to do. So that's the way I want you to really look. So Sharita asked if I have a class on options. No, I told myself, and I'm gonna be very, very blunt, is that I was not going to offer a class on options until I made $100,000. I mean, I feel like I had to learn options in 2003 to take my stockbroker's license, but at the same time is that I don't feel comfortable teaching other people what I'm doing until I have a proven strategy and a proven record. But Terry Ijeoma, one of my favorite people, she was with us in Brown Girls Who Invest in Houston. She has her trade and travel group, and she does teach options. So I can definitely share that information with you guys. So when will a good time? So Amma asked, when would a good time be to kind of, I'm just trying to read it. So the question is, when is a good time to sell existing stocks that you have? Well, it depends on, like, when I tell people and you're purchasing stocks, begin with the end in mind. Like, what am I looking to do with the stock? Am I trying to hold it forever because I love it and I know, like, and trust the company, and that's what I'm trying to do? Or, you know, am I trying to get in and get out? It just depends. So and then also every so often things happen and I'm like, oh no, baby, what is you doing? I had to get out of GE a couple of years ago because they specifically said, hey, our sales have gone down significantly, but their dividends stay the same. Now, if you know anything about dividends, it's the share of your profits and earnings. Now, if your profits and earnings went down, why are you not reducing your dividend? Where are you getting this money from? Oh, y'all just doing what you want because you feel like it. Solid. I'm going to sell because I know where this is going. And I think I sold out of GE at like $21, $23 a share. And if you know anything about GE, I think it just popped up relatively recently to around 8 or 9, 10 or 11, whatever. But it dropped all the way, I think, down to 6. So perspective wise, I got out when the good was good. And I liked GE as a company, but I was just like, y'all doing too much funny business for me. So again, you know, like and trust the company. That's your buy and hold. You know, you hold on. You know, if you're into Bitcoin, you're saying HODL, which is hold on for dear life. That you have a set of stocks like that. I have some other stocks. And let me clarify, my HODL is never HODL. I mean, I'm always going to be looking at a company, say, like, do it in GE. Like, what y'all doing over there? Are y'all running this right? If not, I'm out. So I'm always going to have that situation. And that has other ones that I'm in and out of. So just kind of put that in perspective. So not really do I say when to get out. I mean, if I start seeing the company in distress, I'm going to try to get out. So that's kind of I don't have a blanket answer because every company is different, but I kind of just start looking to see if there's distress or something else going on. So, thanks, Daphne. I appreciate it. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm cutting everybody's questions. Okay, just double check. Yeah. So Monique shared that she said she can stay at Whole Foods a long time, but that price at Amazon is questionable. So I get it. So yeah. So I mean, those are my pretty much my tips overall of, you know, what I saw, what I think people should be doing. You know, basically hold on to your money. Don't go, you know, buying on sale because it's kind of like going to the dollar store. You really don't know what you're getting on that sale, that clearance rack. Be careful. Also, you know, learn, you know, spend this time educating yourself. I mean, you can really put yourself in an amazing position if you educate yourself first. So I tell people, you measure twice, you know, cut once. Measure twice, cut once. Do that. And then so you educate yourself, you put yourself in a really good position to win. I mean, this money is still going to be out there. You know, a lot of people feel like they have to rush because you're going to miss out on opportunity. FOMO will cost you your wallet. It will cost you some time. It will also cost you your livelihood. Don't let FOMO get the best of you. And if anybody doesn't know what FOMO is, it's a fear of missing out. So don't let that kind of take over. That's a negative spirit and a negative energy that you just don't want in your life. Because again, you don't want to really focus on everybody else's highlight reel. That's not for you. So focus on what's for you in this moment, and then kind of build from there. I'm just trying to make sure I'm catching everything. So yeah, so I think we're pretty much done. I
I have
see
one more comment I wanted
sure.
to jump in.
Mhm.
I said one more thing I wanted to jump in. I know we talked it about investors, but because we're pulling in and we're discussing what the crash taught us too. For my first time buyers, if you're looking to purchase a house, you are still in a good spot. Interest rates being low is good for you. The president and the Department of HUD and Housing and Urban Development wanting to institute or inject money into the economy to make sure that people are buying homes is important, because building wealth through real estate is important for this country. They need taxes for the cities, they need interest for the banks, they need all kind of things that keep our economy swirling, and real estate is at the pillar of all of that. So I say all that to say, don't think that it's a bad idea to buy your first home, or don't think that it's a bad idea to move up to your second home and think, oh, I'm in the middle of a purchase, or I'm thinking about selling, or I'm thinking about buying, and I'm not sure what to do. You're still okay. You still just need to go over everything with your CPA, with your realtor, and with your financial planner to make sure that the purchase that you're buying isn't too big for where the economy is going. And if you can afford it, if it's going to allow you to open a business or allow you to utilize a business, it's still a piggy bank that you can live in. That is all a primary residence is. So you just want to make sure that you are talking to the correct people, because in an economy change or a crash, some of my first time buyers have actually worked out really, really well, where they've literally caught some of these fire sales or situations where a house was going up for foreclosure because somebody was over leveraged, but there was absolutely nothing wrong with the house. And it was originally a $300,000 house, like we talked about before, but they were over leveraged by 200, and they literally negotiated 150K. It happens. It happens in a market like this. It happens when an economy goes crazy like this. So purchasing your primary residence is still a good idea. Please, please, please don't let that scare you from that. And once the city agencies and stuff open back up, and all of the grant money that they still have holding on to, that they've been just literally sitting still because of the stay in place or shelter in place order, it'll all open back up. So don't freak out. You're fine.
So yes, it's just yeah. So Jennifer asked, you know, do you think is it still a seller's market?
At this juncture, it's a nobody market. At this juncture, sellers aren't really moving, buyers aren't really buying. Everybody's sitting on their hands right now. So typically, unless the property is a good deal, buyers aren't snatching it all the way up. And if something is on the market to sell, and it's just not priced well, it's going to sit. So I believe that we're pretty much now moving into it's been a seller's market since the beginning of how the winter kind of started, but right now everybody's just kind of waiting. But I think once we come out of this, and if our representatives do what they're supposed to do, and we actually have low rates, grant money, and people able to still have jobs, we'll be back okay. Which I'm pretty sure that we'll be back okay. It's just everybody got to be positioned well. That's all.
Yes, it's definitely about the whole thing is about positioning. Positioning, positioning. If you guys take nothing from this, if you just hopped on and said, oh my goodness, Traci and Courtney are going live, I done missed it. You didn't miss anything. It's all about positioning. You know, we're like when they say in real estate, location, 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 it's positioning, positioning, positioning. That's how you win in this type of market, is that you have the cash available. You're able to pounce when you're ready to do it. Like, and you know, cash is king. And everybody's like, oh, credit is power. Yeah. Mm-mm. Cash is king. Because you come to somebody who's distressed and needs to get out immediately. There's a lot of people that can't close in 30 days if it's a finance sale, but they can if they have cash. And people like cash and they like fast closing. You like fast closings, right, Traci?
Yes, ma'am. We all love it.
Again, you know, keep those things in mind. And I really like to share that with people.
Oh, I see a question out there. Jennifer, you want to buy a house in the next 6 months as the first time buyer of the house hack? Is that a good idea? Yes, good idea. Any of these house hacking creative ways, whether it's a multi-unit, whether you're buying a big old 5-6 bedroom house with an in-law suite in the basement and you want to rent out the basement or Airbnb it, yes, yes, yes. The goal for positioning is making sure you have more money coming into your household than you have going out. So anything that financially makes sense will still make sense moving into the economy whenever there's a recession or anything else. Always creative ways. Sharita, when things calm down, what do you recommend for sellers to look out for to assess the market? So sellers, if you're looking to put your house on the market, you definitely want to look around and see what has sold, what's happening. You definitely want to talk to a realtor to get a CMA, comparative market analysis, to make sure that you're in line with what you owe, with what you think you're trying to sell it for. Those are the kind of things you just want to pay attention to. That's all. Will down payment assistance programs go away in this market? I think that'll depend on the lender, Tamika. And there's also some grant programs, especially in the Pennsylvania, Philadelphia area, that are still have pots that are just sitting because everybody's just kind of sitting home. So I don't think they'll go away per se, as opposed to they'll deplete the current funds that they have now. And the question is, will they re-up?
That's that was actually a really good question, because I think a lot of people are like, well, what do I do now? You know, do I have to come up with more money? You know, that $1,200, if you're going to get it or not, I don't know. You know, you may want to put that aside for your down payment. So again, you know, instead of saying, hey, you know, I'm going to spend it, you know, why don't you, and I should say, just move it over into savings, so you're kind of building on something else. So a couple of things before we get out of here, because we've been chatting it up for a while. First question that I have that Deshita asked was, our lip colors and brands? Lip color. What lip color? Do you have one?
Oh, I was like, wait, what? And by the way, Deshita, I love you. Yes, they are in brands. Yes, ma'am.
What lip color?
Oh, mine is Lip Bar.
Oh, okay. Is it Prima Donna?
Yes, it is Prima Donna. I'm sorry, guys. We went on the whole tangent, but yes, support businesses, local businesses, as well as community-based businesses.
Was that your Christmas?
Bar? Huh?
Did I get you? Was that part of your Christmas present last year?
Yes, ma'am, it was. Thank you. I appreciate you, Prima Donna. We're here, Lip Bar, a vegan lip application, and they are a Black-owned business. They also are in Target, so please support.
So I have on NYX, I think it's called, NYX or whatever it's called, and it's called Copenhagen. That's what it's called. That's what I have on. So couple things. So I just want to kind of let people know where they can find us. Traci, can you let people know how they can find you?
Yes, ma'am. I do a lot of social media. So Instagram is Real Estate Traci with an I, all one word. Facebook is just Traci Powell, Powell, Traci again with an I. And Twitter is the same with Real Estate Traci with an I, all one word. Those are the best way to reach out to me, to get in touch with me. I have links in my bios, especially for Instagram, that you can get on my calendar if you need to meet with me to have some conversations to discuss, whatever your personal situation is.
Awesome. So everyone, you can find me on Instagram. So I'm the IB Investor on Instagram. That's pretty much where I hang out the most. I think I like pictures the most. But also I do have classes that are available. As people were asking, they were like, "Are you running the options class?" I was like, "No, I'm not." Like I said, I had to learn options. I had to learn options when I was studying to be a stockbroker in 2003. And I have not really done them since then. It's still relatively recently. So I was like, until I actually make, like I said, $100,000, I'm not teaching anybody's options. But I do have a class, Stocks 101, for people who are just starting to get ready to get investing in the stock market. They're trying to understand the lingo. And then also, hey, Stephanie, also I have a dividends class because a lot of people are always concerned about, am I going to get paid for being a shareholder of a company? Well, I talk about dividends, what they are, how they work, and basically how do you know if you have a good dividend company. Also, I do some cannabis investing. I do have a cannabis investing class coming up. The cannabis market is going wild and not in a good way and in a bad way. So we'll talk about that. So that's going to be kind of put that on your radar. And then also I have a class called Understanding Bear Market Strategies, where I go in more into the conversation about putting stop limits on things that you currently hold. So basically you're trying to protect what you have. A lot of that opportunity, some of that has gone away, some of it hasn't. Also defensive stocks, defensive sectors, kind of where you should be putting your money, like looking at utilities, telecom, like what does that look like? Also investing in what we call inverse ETFs, which are kind of ETFs that kind of work in the opposite way of the market. And then finally, like I talk a little bit more about options, not anything crazy, just giving you an overview, like this is how it works. And I talk about that, but that's in bear market strategies, all which are available on the IB Investor on Teachable. So if anybody else has any other questions, please let me know. I see that people are asking on Facebook for the Stocks 101 class, which I will share the link for. And then also I don't see any other questions. Please let us know if you have any questions before we get off, because I want to make sure that everybody seems like they got the value that they came for. Please let me know please let us know if this is what you were looking for, if this is the kind of conversation that you want to have on more frequent basis, because a lot of people are interested in investing. They just don't know where to start, or they may be in it and they're just like, they need a little bit more mentorship. So please let us know. Please let us know if this is what you were looking for.
Yes, definitely. My DMs are open all the time on Instagram and on Facebook. I also do a lot of family consultations for estate planning, which is a whole nother conversation. And Courtney and I might have to do a whole nother live before we get off of this shelter in place, because I need folks to crowd around the computer with their families, honey. We need to have a family meeting. But I'm available. I'm accessible. We can sit down and talk however you need to. But if you have topics that you would like us to discuss, shoot me a DM and Courtney and I will discuss it.
So, okay, sounds good. Well, everyone, thank you so much. The recording will probably be on YouTube, but like if you signed up for the webinar, you will get a email probably in the next, I don't know, maybe 3 hours or so with the information for YouTube. Also Traci's information to follow her if you need to contact her. Also the information for the classes. I may or may not have a discount code for you. I don't know. I may feel warm and fuzzy since I'm sitting at home doing nothing. So, but actually I am working my full-time job. Like it's crazy. So just know that, please, everyone, please stay safe. Wash your hands. I mean, we can't talk about it enough. Really take care of your loved ones, practice that, social distancing, do that, make sure that you're just really staying on top of it. And if you are feeling sick, really, I know this sucks, but you're going to have to really advocate for yourself, because unfortunately it doesn't seem like, we're getting the support that we need out in these streets. So be careful, be safe, love on one another from afar. And I hope to see you guys very, very soon. Thank you.